Create the correct thing for we're live. So we're going to add Instagram in because, of course, Instagram has to be special.
Yep. Instagram is our special child with special needs.
We are on the correct
like me.
Live video. This is called Office. Oops. We had there are 3 videos that we want to watch, and I think we'll just sort of take them
Jump
one at
in.
a time. I'm sorry, what?
Just jump right in with them.
Yeah, I mean,
let's introduce ourselves first.
Well, hang on. Let's get everybody in the room first. Save changes there. And then now, because that's live, we can now, it's just waiting for Instagram to catch up. Here
Come on,
she
Instagram.
comes. Yeah, she just takes a minute.
Here she comes.
All right. We've got
walking down the street with the funniest looks from
and we are live on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. This is the Working Actor NYC. That's Patrick Ritual.
That's Benjamin House.
Hi, my friend.
Hi, pal.
And that's our theme music. And I'm already bored of it. Goodbye.
Oh. The
we got a really super interesting show lined up today. But first, did you have a field report that you wanted to share? Was there anything super fun?
I do have a field report I'd like to share.
Tell me.
I went to Brooklyn, and saw Hamlet. The new Hamlet from out of England.
What did you learn from the Hamlet?
Well, for one thing, I always get inspired when I'm feeling like either blue or stuck or, in some way like stalled out. The best thing in the world for me is to go see theater. That's the number one art form, but any art, but that particularly. And this is a really innovative, production. It was really fun to watch all the different innovative.
I thought you were going to say, whenever I'm feeling depressed about my life, I go and see Hamlet and see how shitty he had it.
I hadn't even thought of that. No work. Everybody dies. It's okay. Anyway, the interesting thing I realized what had happened was I actually experienced complete parallels the whole day to the story of to the play, and didn't realize it until the next day, and wrote about it. It started with when I got to BAM, which is not necessarily unpretentious. I love them. But boy, do they know anyway.
They cater to a specific audience, shall we say?
Yeah, very much so. So I got there. I was just nick of time because of the Q train, and the usher was like, the guy was like, "Go straight to the door." I got to the ticket taker, and he's like, "You'll have to wait there and watch the first 9 minutes there, and then we'll take you to whatever seat is available." And I was like, "Hold on, I paid a real price for this ticket, and I want to sit in the seat that I purchased because it's 8th row center." And the guy was like, "This is our policy." And I was like, and I found a guy, manager. He came over. The whole time I was trying to explain to him what I got out my message quickly, but every step of the way, the next usher said, "Well, we'll have to take you to any seat that." Each usher just said the same thing, and I was getting more and more frustrated. Meanwhile, the play's going on, and everybody's watching on a monitor. Anyway, this guy comes over. I guess he's the house manager, and he goes, "It'll all be fine. Have a seat." And I was like, "Okay, but I just need," and he was like, "It'll all be fine. Have a seat. Just have a seat." He kept saying, "Everything's going to be fine. Have a seat." And I got more and more and more mad, turned more and more insane. Not out loud, but inside. This is what happens in Hamlet. Everybody's acting like everything's fine except for Hamlet, who's like, "Are you all crazy?" And then, and I really mean it. And then the other thing is, it's catching how the madness catches to the next person goes mad, then the next person goes mad. I never really noticed, I never really saw that before. And I can tell this is riveting you. And
I'm just wondering when we're getting to the part where this is what I learned from this
you know
experience.
what? I didn't learn anything. No.
Arts can parallel your life in ways that you didn't even realize.
Yeah, and make you.
I just wanted to welcome our friends on TikTok who are chilling over there. Patrick is over here on the YouTube. You can look at him. Look at that beautiful punum by heading to the link tree and hitting the first link, which will bring you over to the vertical version over here on the YouTube. I am heading to see that. I thought you were going to say that it was part of the show, that they were like the people in particular seats.
No, I wish. That'd be great. No, I just woke up the next day realizing we're in one of the few art forms where we can find real time learning, healing, course correction, and even transformation from our own art form, just by watching our colleagues or listening to what our colleagues wrote. I mean,
Yeah.
Shakespeare was 400 years old, but he's still our colleague. We all work with him all the time. Someone's working with him every day. So
Yeah.
to me, that was the field report. You know, that was the lesson.
Yeah.
It hit me powerfully. Not until the next day.
You had to sleep on it. Sleep, perchance to dream.
Yeah.
Is that right? Is that the right play? That's even the right play.
The right play. That is the right play. I was gonna fuck with you and say that's not the right play, but because I knew you'd be like,
right.
oh.
Do I get a point? Oh my god, I want a point for that one. My field report, I hit the ground running and saw 2 casting directors in one day. And one of them was Ricky Gimmelstob, who is the casting director for Jonathan Strauss Casting, which is the office that does the Dick Wolf shows, the Law and Orders, Chicago PD. And she's the casting director specifically for Chicago PD. And the question that's been burning in my brain is, do I need to have a manager in order to get auditions for series regular on a TV show? And she said, you don't need a manager in order to get auditions for co-star and guest star. That is based on your talent. Your agent, I already get those auditions, some of those auditions. And so your agent is fine. She said, if you have a manager, they may be able to pitch you in a way that an agent cannot. But unless they're only going to unlock series regular rooms if they are a particularly powerful manager, if they're particularly high up the ladder. And so it created this sort of, she said, the people who are getting the series regular auditions are the people who are at that level. And it created this catch-22 in my head of like, okay, so how do you get to the level if you're not given the chance to audition for the job that's going to get you to that level? Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I have thoughts and feelings about this that we'll discuss on the daily this coming week. But yeah, it was just super interesting to learn from the horse's mouth, as it were, that those series regular auditions are things that you have to work up to get. I mean, I guess in some cases,
in some cases they might see you
exactly
in
what they're looking for. If they're looking for a specific, if you know, what was it, Chase Infinity from, well, this isn't series regular on TV show, this is a movie, but if you have a specific set of skills, they're going to find you. But I don't know. That was my
or if they see you in something, which this is rare, but if they happen to see you in something that really rings the bell for them, they might have a meeting with you and see if you can be worthy of if they can trust you to go into the room. It's that's happened for sure. It happens
absolutely
less.
It's that thing of like
less.
I think the solution that I came up with for myself is that work begets work. Like, you just have to keep plugging away at whatever level you're at. Just keep doing great work so that the right people can find you. All right, that's field reports. So just to set up what we're doing today, because this is sort of a special and interesting version of the Working Actor NYC podcast, because what happened to me during the week was that I saw a post on Instagram from a former colleague who said that, "Oh, I'm so excited to be back in the room again, doing a new workshop of this show that we had done together." And I was not in the room with them, and this workshop was going on without me. And I dug deeper into it, and literally every other male that I had done the show with was at this workshop, except for me. And nobody had reached out and nobody had contacted me. Nobody had said, "Hey, this is what's happening." And when I shared that story, so many people said, "Yep, that's happened to me." So I thought it would be a cool and interesting idea to have people share those stories with us so that we could find what we can learn from them. Has that happened to you, Patrick? That
Oh, yes. It's happened to me a couple of times. The biggest one was I did the workshop and then the next workshop and then the lab production and then the $16 million production of
ooh,
his show. Uh, and
and that
I
was
was
not
really
Broadway.
that never made it to Broadway. But
$16
it was
million dollar production and it didn't go.
yeah,
That's
16 million.
crazy.
Yeah, in Texas, in Dallas. The show
Oh,
was
wow.
gorgeous. The show was absolutely stunning
Yeah.
in every iteration of it. And the role that I played was changed, enhanced, expanded, shrunk. It went through a lot of different things, and so did I. And in the end, it didn't make it to Broadway. We tried one more sort of fast pitch with works, kind of a pitch meeting with some producers, where a few of us came in, but I was with it. I was one of uh, three people. The three of us made it to every round, and I was keenly aware of the people that were left behind and that they were didn't know until we knew.
Right.
And that hurt my feelings, even though it wasn't me. That hurt. And then when it was me, in this case, I didn't have any expectation of going forward with it because it was because of the way things had gone throughout,
Right.
and that there were changes being made and everything. But um, in other cases, I was left behind. Once I was left behind for a show. They I love this story actually. Casey Nicolau was directing the show. It was called Minsky's, and we did a workshop of it,
Oh, yeah.
and
Mm.
then it went into LA, and it did not take me. And I was like, oh, oh God, it's all over. It's the end of everything. This was
Right.
20 years ago, and I was at an audition. I don't know, a couple weeks after their cast was it was announced that it was going to LA. And Casey Nicola came running up to me from the other side of the hallway and grabbed me and said, "We cast a tap dancer." And I was like, "What?" He was like, "We cast a tap dancer. That's why we didn't have you come." And I was
Right.
like, I wish I could, I wish I wanted to say, if only everyone had your kindness and empathy, because he's an actor.
What
And,
it makes such an enormous
it
difference.
did. It made all the difference in the world, all the difference in the world. And, I would have loved to have been in the production, but I can't dance. And also, I love the fact that even if, let's say that wasn't, I mean, let's say they just didn't, let's say I wasn't, still could have been in the show. I don't know. It just didn't bother me anymore that because somebody reached out in a human way, that made me feel great. That's not what happens. It's just not the way the business is built, and you can't really do anything. People act individually the way they act.
Well, I
You
feel
know.
like in each case is different. If it's of any value to anybody, the reason that I got cut from this particular project was because they changed the gender of the lead role. So they needed to add a guy to the ensemble who could cover the lead role. And it was sort of a one in, one out. And I was the most expendable because my purpose could be covered by somebody else. Um, but
Also, you don't have any
also I'm
talent.
terrible. Also, I
Yeah,
have
you don't have any
no
talent.
talent, and
Yeah, you forgot
everybody
that.
just
You left that part out.
everybody's just been
That's it.
lying to me this whole
Yeah.
time and
Yeah.
being nice, and,
Yeah.
nobody wants to ruffle any feathers.
Well, not everybody. Some people have been telling you, you just haven't been listening.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you right now. Uh, hey, everybody over on TikTok, hit the link in my link tree to the office hours in the green room in order to come on over to the full shenanigans over here
To
on the Tube of
see
You.
in letterbox.
Well, but also in vertical, we have both are available. And in fact, the link will take you to the vertical version, where Patrick and I are very slim and side by side.
Yeah.
But I want to get into some of these videos because these experiences, and some of them are a little long, but I decided that in the end, it was worth hearing the full shenanigans. So here's our first guest.
Hey y'all, my name is Kimberly Doreen Burns, and I am also a professional actor here in New York City. And very similarly to what Benjamin shared with you a few days ago, I also have been through the experience of being a part of a show from the ground up and not being taken along for the ride. So I was part of a brand new musical. I want to say the first reading or backers audition for it was over 8 years ago. And I signed the first right of refusal, which is pretty, standard for these types of things. And I had a really great role, and I worked very hard on my character and my music and everything. It was a really beautiful musical, beautiful period musical. And for some reason, when that musical did some further reincarnations after the official backers audition in New York City, I was not taken along for the ride. And I've had to watch over the past 8 years as that musical has been produced regionally, even in New York City at a big venue. It has not hit the Broadway yet, but it certainly is frustrating and hurtful, and it's very easy in those moments to think to myself, what did I do wrong? Who did I piss off?
This part.
What could I have done differently? And I've thought about it a myriad of times, and honestly, I still stand by my performance. I stand by my work, and I don't think it's anything that I personally did. So I just have to think that the director had a different concept for that character, but it still hurts. And it's very frustrating because I still think there are other parts in that show. There are a lot of female roles. There's a female ensemble. There's still a lot of parts of that show that I could still be a part of. And it's painful to watch it keep getting done over and over again without being in it. So I see you, I feel you.
It's an interesting thing about being able to reflect upon your own behavior and performance and
Yeah.
go, no, that wasn't it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a certain amount of self-satisfaction that comes from that part of it. But again, it's just the nobody saying, I don't know, what did you get? What did you
Well,
get
our
from
you
the
know our
experience?
egos are always trying to sort of make sense out of things that their normal measures of sense don't apply, because we always forget that we're in a completely 100% subjective field.
Yeah,
So it doesn't require, I mean, it's so hard for anybody who's been through that, including me, to say this, but it's the truth. It doesn't require there isn't anything we might have done differently. They really might not have liked our performance, but if they felt like we were, if someone feels like I'm the person for that they'll try different things on me, right? But if it's like, no, I want somebody else, that's all it is to them. It's like,
right.
let me get the person I'm picturing now, and oftentimes we help clarify for them
I think
what they
that,
picture.
yeah.
When it goes well, the role,
Great.
they
Yes.
end up
When it goes
saying to
well,
you,
great.
nobody else could have played this role because you know what I mean? Because you
Yeah.
got a chance to. But when it goes Kimberly's way, or the way that it's gone for all of us, you you go, but you wouldn't, that role wouldn't be the way it is if it weren't
Yeah.
for this and this and this and this that I. It's just, it's so, in our minds, it's so unfair that our egos try and, you know, justify it, make sense of it. Can't be must justified or made sense of. It just can't. It's literally like I was a shirt they tried on and put back.
Yeah.
You know, they wore me
It's a
for a couple of
shame.
times and then they returned me. And that's honestly how it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it sounds awful, but it's not, because we're in a really, it's totally subjective.
And it's just a shame that they had to learn that after
Oh my God, I
you've been
feel her
in the
so
process
deeply.
and been in. Yeah. In fact,
I
I
feel
think somebody, so thank you to Kimberly Doreen Burns who shared that. Our
love
next
you, Kimberly.
share is from Jackie Petrocha, who also has a really interesting take on this. This one's a little longer, but a super interesting take.
Hi, Benjamin and Patrick, long-time listener, first-time caller. Before I start, I just want to say, Patrick, when I found out that you were the Que Sera guy on beaches, I fangirled all over the place. So I love you. I have known who you are since 1980.
Oh, good. She didn't say since I was a child.
Anyway, I know we're talking about being replaced and the heart.
Oh,
Uh, uh,
okay.
Don't leave us hanging.
Okay.
Uh, yeah,
Oh, I think this file is super
That
large.
goes through that, and that everybody goes through this situation as an actor. I kind of feel like it's one of those horrible rites of passage. I have kind of an interesting story that relates to that. I had done a regional.
yeah,
Ooh,
we're gonna have trouble
I
with
think
this
this
one.
file is I think this file is too large, and it's having difficulty making its way through all the
Do you know
mechanisms.
what? Maybe we could just use the audio, like. Oh, I don't know how to do that.
Let me pass that off to our producer, and I'll
Gig.
Wait, hold on a second. Did somebody call a producer? Hold on a minute. I'll get the other producer.
okay.
Okay.
Hang on a second.
Let me
I
look at
think I'm
this.
gonna have to pause Jackie if I can. Okay. All right. That seems to have frozen the entire system, which is great.
Oh,
And
do
I
we need to
can't
start
seem
over?
to remove Jackie from.
Oh my God.
We're gonna see if I'm just hitting remove to see if I can let Jackie go. But I will just say I did watch Jackie's video, and I want to tell you that one of the super interesting things that, first of all, we're going to have Jackie back because she has super interesting perspective on parenthood and how that impacts how being a mom impacts these sorts of decisions and to stay as an actor. But the thing
That's
that
a great one.
yeah, I mean, we really do need to have her on as a guest so we can get into that. But what I wanted to share from her is that, of course, when we do these projects, we are giving of ourselves. We have an emotional investment in this material that we are giving of ourselves. It's part of us that goes into these projects. And so having that part taken away has a different impact to actors. It's different than if you were even if you were the stage manager or the lighting designer who was
Yeah,
replaced.
that's why I will never say you can't take it personally. I say it isn't personal, but we take it personally because it's almost impossible not to, because we really do go there. We give a piece of ourselves every time we invest in a role. We just give a piece of ourselves. And when you're creating one, you're just completely vulnerable. You know, you're just
Yeah.
completely open and saying, here, take, take, take. So, yeah, I mean, it's really almost, I can't say I've ever been like, oh, it doesn't bother me. I know it's not personal, but it's still, of course, really hurts.
Yeah. And the
You
other
know?
thing that she sort of said at one point, it's not like if you get replaced in your office job that you have to sort of face the show as it comes around again. You don't see it. If it's an office job, you don't see it again. You don't see that office again, But
Right.
in the theater, it's like Kimberly said, it was painful for Kimberly to see the show have these continuing regional productions, and that she just wasn't a part of. So I guess that's something that I have to look forward to with this particular project is as it moves forward, I'm gonna have to sit
No,
there and
that's
go,
not true. I have to interject it here. That's not true because everybody's different in terms of their processing. Kimberly may be dealing with something where she just wasn't able to complete that particular thing, or she has now and she's talking about it in a past tense. But everybody's different. You may be at a place in your life, Benjamin, where you're able to complete that much more uh much more quickly or much
yeah,
more with more I can't think of the word, just more swiftly. And
yeah,
that is a real thing. I mean, it depends on where we are in our life, what we're doing in our life, how much that
right,
project meant to us, a million things. So I would not make that assumption at all that you have that to look forward to. I really wouldn't. And neither will Kimberly on the next one, because hopefully, these things leave us wiser and more seasoned and everything. And Kimberly, I've seen Kimberly's work. I've worked with her.
yeah,
She, you know, she ain't going nowhere. She's only headed towards terrific things. She's wonderful. So it's like, this is one of those ones that strengthens us and forges us.
yeah, yeah. All right, should we jump into our last video? This one is 2 stories, so we might pause in the middle of this one. Hopefully the file size is cool for us to get through it. But this is Lauren Pasterek.
I'm Lauren Pasterek, and first of all, I wanted to thank Benjamin for inviting me on here to help shed some more light on this crazy industry that we love so much. Benjamin and I know each other because we did Girl Crazy together at City Center Encores. So in the first scenario, it was at the Kennedy Center. It was beautiful. It was a dream come true. It was Carnival. We were being directed by Bobby Longbottom, and this was an incredible cast. Jim Stanek, we had Natasha Diaz. It was a magical cast. And when
Magical
the
show.
Broadway producers came along, they told Bobby that they wanted to transfer the show, but that they wanted to replace a few characters here and there to maybe make the show a little bit more marketable. And Bobby stood up for us and said, no, this is my cast, and this is the cast that's going to transfer onto Broadway. And so the producers pulled the plug. Wow. It was pretty disappointing. He really was standing up for us, but in the end, it just didn't work out. So that would have been sort of like my first chance at dipping my toe into an actual Broadway contract that was shortly missed.
So, I mean, this was a very particular situation, and I'm sort of
Yeah.
fascinated by it, and I would love to get your perspective on this, Patrick. It's like the director says, "No, no, no. If the show can't move with this cast intact, then the show doesn't move." I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sort of. It feels a little bit like what is that expression? Cutting off your nose to spite your face, or something.
Well, it depends. I mean, he may really have been saying the reason this show works is because of what these people brought to it.
Right.
Wouldn't be surprised if, well, I wouldn't, I'd love to talk to him about it and see how it affected him, because
Yeah.
they called us.
Yeah.
I don't think he was bluffing, but they might have, I don't know, he might have really not thought they would go ahead and pull the plug. Or it might be that they pulled the plug for other reasons that we don't know, that Lauren does, we don't, there's other things and factors involved. I don't know. But it's interesting to me that he stood up and and said that and defended the show itself. The integrity of the show was forged out of this particular. It's like that joke about the actor, director, and the producer go to a restaurant, and the waiter comes and the actor says, "I'll have the soup," and the director says, "Oh, that sounds good. I'll have the soup," and the producer says, "3 soups." So the direct actor says, "I'd like my," he brings it, and the actor says, "Oh, could I please have a couple of ice cubes? I need to cool the soup down. And could you bring me an extra bowl because I need to?" Okay. The director says, "This is terrific, but I need a shallower bowl. This bowl is too deep. I want a shallower bowl." Okay, and then the producer takes a sip and he says, "This is fantastic. I think I'll piss in it."
I've worked at that restaurant.
I've worked with those three, but
We
you
had
know,
people pissing in soup all the time. We were just like, what is so
and
interesting
it was
about
the
our soup?
waiters. Anyway, you know what I mean, though? It's like sometimes you really go, God damn it, what the fuck? They loved the show, they wanted to transfer it, and they just
And
couldn't
then they just
resist
ruined
saying
it.
it. And it could have been anything. Could have been demographics, marketing, those
It does
bean
feel
counters.
Yeah, it does feel a little bit like with this story that maybe there was more to the story that wasn't shared. There was some behind the scenes stuff that wasn't shared, but we don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
taking it at face value, it's very honorable of Bobby to want to maintain the integrity of what they all created together.
Yeah.
And the end.
And ouch, ouch, ouch. I don't recall I don't even
Ouch,
recall
ouch,
that
ouch,
Lincoln
indeed.
Center production. That's such a
Can
magical show. I'm
Kennedy
surprised
Center?
it's never fun.
All right, here's the other story which creates new and interesting revelations as well.
Then the next example, which is not as good of a memory. It was an off-Broadway show that I was a part of. I had signed a 6-month contract, and when that 6 months came up, the producer came up to me in my dressing room, and he said they were not going to renew my contract. And I said, "Oh, can you tell me what I've done wrong? I'd love to learn from this experience." And he said, "Oh, no, you've done nothing wrong. You've been incredible. The audiences have loved you. You've fulfilled the characters that you've played. I covered a couple characters. You fulfilled them amazingly well. We love you." I said, "Great. So why am I now unemployed?" And he said, "Well, we just love our show so much that we want to make sure that we give a chance for all of our friends to be in the show." As though it were a game. But this was my livelihood. And I finally was in a show in New York where I could pay for my apartment and live in New York, performing like a block off of, not even a half a block off of 8th Avenue. So that was pretty rough. It pretty much defined my self-worth for the next several years.
Yeah.
And I think in some ways led to me finally leaving New York. I doubted myself at every turn after that. I actually went more into opera and straight plays, almost as though I was avoiding musical theater altogether. So that was cool because I finally did some opera roles that I really wanted to do, and some incredible comedic roles and plays that were life-changing. So all that said, it was, I guess, meant to be, and it led me down the path I was meant to go down, but that doesn't mean it didn't sting, that everyone else was continuing on in the show, except for me. The worst part about it was that I had to keep doing the show while this next actor was learning their part, and we had to sort of dodge each other backstage. They obviously didn't want to get into my space, I didn't want to get into their space, and the whole thing was very awkward. So there are going to be overlapping contracts.
Yeah.
There's going to be contracts that end. There's going to be replacements. And not every producer is going to do the right thing when it comes to timing that out. And in this case, they didn't. Enjoy all of the wisdom that Benjamin shares with you, because he says some pretty great stuff. I really enjoy watching him. So thank you, Benjamin.
Thank you. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you, Lauren. Wow.
It really does bring up one of those. Yeah, right. And it brings up that really salient point that she expressed so beautifully, which she said that she took that loss and it sort of defined her self-worth for a while.
For years.
And I think, this is part of it, is that we need to come up with strategies for dealing with these losses and these rejections. I certainly lean upon my community in times like that. And remember, we've talked before about having an evidence file for those times when you just need a reminder that, right, what I do is good and important. I don't know, what struck you from that story?
What struck me the most was at the time that Lauren was going through it, whether she was conscious of it or not, each time she was presented with that awful news, it was as if her self-worth was entirely attached to the job in a way. She talks about mourning the role, sort of, I'm paraphrasing, that she created this wonderful role and everything, and all of the delicious things about that we all love about working, half a block from 8th Avenue and all that stuff. I could so relate. Um, but in the end, so many of us, we measure our self-worth by whether or not we're working and what we're working on. And that just simply doesn't work. It just simply will never work, because in the end, there's going to be plenty of times when we're not working or we are
Right.
let go. And then what? Are we nothing? Do we not
Right.
exist?
Right.
And so I think, it sounds like Lauren has had tremendous, a tremendous
Success since then,
success,
personal
anything.
success.
Yeah, anyway. But
Yeah.
it doesn't sound like, in a way, it doesn't sound like, but it sounds like she's figured out a way where to put that,
Yeah.
because
To move
just
on
in
from
order
it.
to survive it, yeah, kind
Yeah.
of thing. And what I'm always talking about is, how do we get that shit, like, kind of really cleaned out? And I think that one of the reasons I have these conversations with you and
Yeah.
put up with you is because um
So true. I'm
is
such a
because
fan.
I am so interested in what makes us stronger, what makes us better, and what helps us leave behind or make a difference that we want to make because we say so. Like Lauren, well, obviously wants to make an impact in the world, and whatever it is, it's because she says so, not because that producer says so, or this director says so, or that casting
Right.
director says so. It's because she says so, because she's the one who has to face the odds every day and surmount them or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so am I, and so are you. So every
Yeah.
one of us has to find a way to anchor ourselves in our solidness about, okay, well, who am I? Okay, all right, who am I going to be? And how am I going to get past that and keep being what I'm being, rather than, oh, I guess I'm nothing. Not that
Right.
she did that, but I mean, she inspired me to realize that there's people that do go, she rose up. It doesn't sound like she bounced back. It sounds like she
I
worked through it
agree.
and went through the struggle and the what I call the fire swamp, and came out
Yeah.
the other side. I'm not, you know, did she come out completely unburned? I
Unscathed.
don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Don't think so. But I do think she's, like, here she is demonstrating her resilience and her strength. And of course, you can't, if you've got the talent and you don't use it, then, you're only, you have to blame. She's using it.
Yeah,
She's
yeah,
doing what she's
in
supposed
ways
to do
that
with it.
she perhaps would not have explored had this not
Right.
happened to her. But it is, it is that reminder of, she got to do that off-Broadway contract for 6 months, and it gave her the life that she pictured herself having in New York, being able to afford her apartment, being able to work and in the city and sleep in her own bed at night. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the dream that I am pursuing, but it lasted for 6 months, and I just makes me think my longest Broadway job was 5 months. You know what I mean? It's like,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like
that's the other
you
thing, is
can hit that
all
you can
things are
hit that
relative.
peak. You can hit that peak and just that place where you are doing the thing exactly the way you pictured it in your head, and then it's gone.
Yeah, it's gone. I mean, that's the other thing. It's all things are relative, right? I mean, the show that launched my entire career in New York lasted 30 days.
Oh my God.
It was a special contract. And yet it caused relationships with, I don't know how many casting directors, who then went on to become really big casting directors, and started the ball rolling for me in so many ways I can't count.
Yeah.
All because of that little off-Broadway thing that was a special contract for 30 days. And at the Equity Library Theater, if any of our watchers know that one, chime in,
Uh-uh.
because the Equity Library Theater is defunct, but it's a legend. And yeah, and I'm proud to have worked there.
Speaking about people jumping in, I did just want to call out Kathy Deach has been watching over on Instagram, and she commented earlier when we were talking about whether or not people do you the courtesy of telling you that your contract is about to be ended, or they're handing the role off to somebody else, or you're not continuing forward with the show. And Kathy's point was, but we have representation so they can deliver that message to them. They don't even have to tell us. They can be a chicken and tell them. It's bizarre that it's been that way. And I just wanted to highlight that because it really does make all the difference. It
Yeah.
still hurts, but having somebody say, just to reach out and say, it would not have killed the casting director in this case to reach out to my agent and say, just let Benjamin know that we're doing a workshop without him because we needed to add another person to the male ensemble, and the producer didn't want to go over budget on payroll, so we're not going to be using Benjamin. Do you know what I mean? Like, it would not, nobody would have died had I been given the warning from my agent.
I think just like all of us producers are, I know this is going to sound crazy, but just like everybody else, a lot of people are completely confrontation adverse. They don't want to bear that news. In fact, it's an interesting phenomenon. Our people will all recognize that when they say to you in an audition that, your final callback, and they're like, that was brilliant. They come around, they hug you. Is this a good number? Because we're going to be calling, casting director's like, we're going to be calling you. Expect a call. Kiss of death, right? Kiss of death. Yeah. And I have a theory about that, which is that's because they know or sense you're not going to get the job, and they just don't want to be they don't want to even be in the room when you find out. They don't even want to, you know what I mean? And so they'd rather like tell your agent after later when there's no chance of them talking to you, and unless they know you really well. It's the same thing with producers. I was in that show that I was talking about.
Yeah.
That was $16 million production. The lead, really the main lead, was with us for the whole time. Great guy. And then we did the production, and then there was thrown together like a last minute, a few of the people, not everybody, reading different parts around the table and singing this show for another producer. It was like a last ditch effort because that show just was never going to be quite right. It was so brilliant. It was so gorgeous. And we had every theater owner, the Nederlanders, the Schuberts, everybody, several times were there. All the producers, lots of times. And they just couldn't get it. It was so close. And everybody was talking about that show. It was going to be the next magical thing. But it didn't. Anyway, at that read it through around the table after the fact, like a month later or whatever, 2 weeks later, our lead guy wasn't there. Instead, there was a star.
Right.
And I knew he didn't know. And I called him.
Right.
Because I was like, I can't bear the thought that you aren't going to know this. And
you're going to find out.
That you're going to find out. Yeah. And he thanked me, but it was a big deal, obviously. And then the producers, he got cast in another. Anyway, it was another example of like, I can't believe. And this producer is a really spectacular human being in a lot of ways, I think. Yeah. But no, I just couldn't believe it.
Look, this is something that happens to so many of us. I think being in a forum like this so that you can share your story is perhaps part of the healing process. And I, for one, am happy to facilitate that for people. And I think it's part of the journey that actors who haven't experienced that yet get their armor ready for. It's not necessarily armor, but just have your coping strategies sorted so that if it does happen, you know who to turn to and whose shoulder to cry on.
Yeah, I honestly feel like for the most part, like anybody that's been in the business for long enough and been at it for long enough is going to experience it. I mean, it's probably rarer than not to not experience it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's just
Yeah.
because we all do so many shows, work with so many people, do this, and it's not about. It's really not. I dare say probably one, hundredth of a percent is about talent. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? At
Yeah.
that time, that it might be about that person was just no good. But it's like happens to all of us all the time.
It sure does. And that's
And,
why we are here with the Working Actor NYC. If you need to let it out, that's what Penny is here to do for you.
Penny's here for you, right here. Just let me
Joel,
know.
we'll be right back here in 2 weeks for our next live podcast. Come and join us for that.
Which will be
please
at our
head-
regular time.
which will be an hour later than today because Benjamin's got to run off right now and be the voice for a gig in Manhattan. So thank you for joining us. Thank you very, very much to our special guests who contributed today: Kimberly Doreen Burns, Jackie Petrocha, and Lauren Pastorek.
Jackie, I'll get the video so I can watch it because I can't wait to hear what you said.
And yes, I now we know that file size is an issue. All right. And check out the workingactornyc.com for more information about all the different things that we have to offer. We are here for you, and you can find us on Instagram and TikTok and our YouTube channel, where there's lots of resources to help you with your successful, sustainable acting career.
Because we need you. You're needed on the planet right now.
What you have to say. What you have to say is important.
Wanted right now. Hurry.
Reach out to us with questions that you have, or if you have suggestions for a topic that we should dig into, let us know what that looks like.
Get rid
Thanks
of
for
Patrick.
joining us.
I'm gonna say.
Yeah,
Thank
shake
you.
it.